again with another video. Um, really excited to kind of share some vision and some ideas and strategy through this platform. So I think the main thing that I'm learning is how to offer the audience exactly what they want events wise. This video format stuff is kind of like raw and uncut, and this is what I currently have access to shooting consistently. It's not necessarily the best per se, but it is what I have access to right now, and I can do this consistently. So you know, you guys will learn if you don't already know this about me that I think consistency gives you an edge before the quality starts to hit, right? I do want the quality as well. I don't want to be uh, misaligned about that. And if I could start with quality, that'd be great. But as it is, my rep count has to go up before my quality does for video stuff. So it's a long way to say this is what you're going to get from me. Most of the time is me walking and providing my thoughts about what I'm doing, what's going on with organized AI, and what's the future. Even BHT is kind of having a resurgence, and I'm excited about that as well. Um, most of what I've been doing is focusing on this community aspect. So I found myself officing out of Antler VC's office. Really excited about that opportunity. Big shout out to AITX. Shout, shout out to Jake. Shout out to Michael. So both of them really showed me a lot of love as a vibe coder, kind of navigating my way through this first year. Um, but I say all that to say this, really the thing that I'm most excited to share with you guys today is that the next AI event for organized AI is going to be a build night, and we're going to focus on real business problems. And I've got one person signed up, a second one that I'm working on, but it's going to give that engineering community, especially vibe coders that are, you know, good enough to deploy production apps. Obviously, it's a level above just vibe coding, but I'm giving them opportunity to win $1,000 for solving a real world problem um, that a local business has. And so, what one thing that I've realized around the space is a lot of business owners want to use AI and they want an opportunity to use AI. They just don't know exactly where or how to even approach it. And instead of like selling them a course or a, you know, uh, one size fits all type of solution, which you see a lot of as well. I think there's a lot of people who don't want to do it themselves. They want someone to come in who's an expert in the field, build the thing that they envision. So they do have input on what gets built based on their current business and things they've identified as opportunities for automation or efficiency. And from that, we'll be able to um, offer people something real. And in this case, that means I don't know if I got like a stabilizer or something. I'm gonna have to think about that. In this case, that would mean awesome. They're restoring and working on the statue. That's pretty cool. In this case, that would mean having the business owner themselves come stand in front of a room of developers and explain what they are trying to accomplish and what they would like to be built. So it's literally like a made to order situation, um, where the builders are there competing against one another, which adds in a layer of the business owner being able to get multiple versions of the thing and then choose the winner. And the winner is chosen by the business owner themselves versus a panel of judges and a panel of other folks. Um, Obviously, I might play around with having a tech lead to test the, production readiness of the app itself. But the cool thing about it is I can start to foster and open up this opportunity for people who are really looking for business. So they're looking for contracts. A lot of these devs, instead of just building random tools in a silo, they could be building things that actual business owner wants and they're ready to pay money for. That's why they're attending the event. And ultimately, the dev wins because they get a bounty for completing the task. Now, one of the other added benefits of this is obviously ongoing support, and then making sure that I have a community of builders around me that actually want to submit and actually want to solve the problems and will continue in that vein. So over time, let's say I throw 3 or 4 of these, I'll probably have about 50 engineers that I can rely on that I believe are capable and willing to build. Um, so then we go private community, Slack, whatever, Discord, and I can have a bounty system set up for personal projects, for any project that I come across, not just the ones at the event, but it'll start with the ones at the event. So the cool thing about that is the one at the event will get created. There'll be multiple versions of it. There'll be business owner choosing who is the winner. But in addition to that, look the multiple versions and kind of compare and contrast them in real time so that they'll get clarity on what exactly they're looking for, at worst case. So let's say there's a situation where nothing is chosen because the business owner doesn't get exactly what they're looking for. They'll get a chance to refine their uh, their description of said challenge, right? I think there's a lot at stake right now when it comes to assuming that the business owner knows the challenge, technical jargon of it, and how it should work and why it should work the way it does and where the features end or are not even feasible. There'll be essentially a situation where we can tell if something is VP at least, and if it's worthwhile for the business owner from a cost perspective. Um, it's got to make sense. And so that's where I think it's going to be the most beneficial and interesting is getting people into a spot to where, hey, you have the skill of building anything from scratch, just about, especially a simplified business solution. The business owner isn't going to be impressed by, uh, you know, the technical aspects of it. They don't care. They just want something solved practically. And so to be able to facilitate that and be, the organized AI as it is, right? A great name for this. And right now I'm going with the title of Problem Solved Live. So we'll see how it goes with that format. I got like 2.5 hours to make it happen for everyone. Um, It'll probably take longer than that to get more than an MVP out. But for now, I think just getting an MVP out and ready to use is really the main goal. I might have a follow up Discord or Slack that allows people to refine their project or whatever. and we'll see how that goes. That'll kind of be on them. How bad do you want this, right? How bad do you want to pitch this solution, and who do you want to pitch it to? Um, there's also like this idea where there'll be additional people with the same exact issue. So let's say competitors want the same thing built. How cool would it be to be able to scrape and get that in front of folks? But obviously, the courtesy of first refusal goes to the participants in that industry that have also been participants and sponsors for this event. So, for instance, one of the first people we're having is a food truck um, entrepreneur, and so if we have a solution created, and then we have additional features that are identified but not created at that event, as those additional features or additional suite of apps and situations are created, it would be really cool to be able to say, all right, hey, do you want this before we go to the market with it? Would you want a piece of this beforehand? And that way we create a benefit to the entrepreneur for giving our devs a shot first. And um, we incentivize the devs to continue working on the problems of that person who raised their hand that one time to create the opportunity for the build night itself. So the build night doesn't happen without the business owner raising their hand and making it available. And that piece is crucial and a differentiator in this scenario. So excited to bring this to the community, and I think that it'll be well received, and we're crossing our fingers for well executed. It is a very, very tight time constraint for what I'm trying to create here, and it might have to span over 2 sessions. We'll figure that out and see how that works out. But essentially, it's it could be really cool to just kind of present this as a build night, singular night, and then eventually as a full blown hackathon. Um, and we'll kind of see what direction it ends up going. But you know, either way, I know that it's worth considering and trying and seeing where we land with it. And that's pretty much it, man. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that, and if that sounds like a decent idea as far as the the principles behind it. I've been wondering if there was a way for me to create a community of really dialed in or cracked, as they like to say, devs, and make them make sure that they're good at working with people, obviously, so that's a skill in its own. Have me, they don't necessarily have to be good at working with people. I can kind of handle, that piece. Um, but organized AI, since I've started as a product manager, I would just continue doing that, and just developing a pipeline of sorts of businesses and business owners who want to implement AI in real time, like real solutions. And so, AI in real time could also mean something as simple as a traditional automation, an AI workflow, a voice agent, customer service, even going down the rabbit hole or up the rabbit hole, I guess, and just data collection systems, like basic data science being used inside of the organization. A lot of these people probably don't have CRMs, so just data collection in general. Anyways, it starts there and it goes into that, and it would be awesome for me to have, like I said, 20 to 50 devs in a chat that I trust and know can build and have proven that they can build quickly. Um, and just be able to tap them and say, hey, I got a new client who wants to complete this bounty. And then we, present all the bounties or present all the projects and let the business owner choose. I think this idea of letting the customer choose who they want to go with is really interesting, and it's really fair, because you really at that point can't be mad at anybody other than, I guess, the business owner, which ultimately means you're not giving the customer exactly what they want, or what there's so much that gets isn't translated and isn't um, expressed by the customer. And this is one of those situations to where the engineer gets to work on understanding what the customer wants, even if they're not saying it out loud. And I think that from my experiences so far, that alone is a worthwhile cause. It's something that people sleep on. It's something that people don't fully understand. You're more valuable whenever someone can bring you something extremely vague, and you can still satisfy them and provide a solution that they want to pay for. So that alone is insane to me, and a really cool angle. But anyways, organized AI is community for learning AI, but also offering opportunities to those who are uh, proving themselves and put in the time and effort to really dial in on these tools. And this opportunity isn't just for vibe coders; it's for regular engineers as well that aren't necessarily using all the tools. But I prefer those who are familiar with the AI tools, uh, that they can use to build faster. So the idea is quick solution for a problem, make it look like magic to the business owner, have them choose you, and you get paid well for doing so, and then you flesh out the idea. And if you don't flesh out the idea as the builder who gets chosen, I have a pool of hungry individuals who are willing to um, continue the build or support the build or maintain the code base, whatever the case, or app, whatever the case may be. So it turns into a pretty bulletproof situation for the business owner. And I think the value prop there for them is, hey, get an engineer without hiring an engineer, get help on using AI without having to commit fully to someone and hire a position that you've never hired. You got to think about a lot of these blue collar or um, more traditional brick and mortar type of businesses. They want to use AI, but they don't necessarily know how to. And not only do they not know how to, they don't know how to differentiate or hire the person that would know how to properly. They wouldn't know how to like check to make sure that that's the right hire. These are people without barely have a website, right? These are people that maybe they have no technical people on their team at all. Maybe they're the ones who bought the domain, built the website themselves, that type of thing. They have money, right? They just don't have expertise around tech and hiring for that. Their version is they have a computer person on their team, and that person is responsible for all things IT related, app related, building related, mobile, Google My Business, social media ads. They have one person doing all that stuff, and that's just a reality. Um, and one last thing I'll add is I ran into this and started to realize how it really was through BHT. So me selling better conversion tracking and light, and I say this light in bold, light data science turns into, hey, we have a media buyer who should be setting all that up. And they should be, and that's right. But what I've realized is most people don't want to hire a separate person to solve that issue. They want one-stop shop. You run the ads, you make the ad creative, you count the conversions, you determine if the attribution is correct, and that all happens through one person. Now, Hyros has kind of taken over that route as, hey, this is a tool that does the thing that a person would do, which is really smart that they did it, but it kind of put people like me out. Um, not for nothing. I've been I've worked on accounts that had Hyros, but it wasn't set up correctly. And so it not being set up correctly wasn't didn't mean that they would cancel Hyros. It would mean that they would use it and keep it, but it's a false solution. Meaning if you don't set it up correctly, it's just as bad as not having it at all. And that's a topic for a different day. But it's really interesting to look at business owners and see how they think about even it's funny to see how they think about um, conversion tracking, media, IT, tech, just solutions. They're not necessarily fully aware of everything that's involved. A lot of times it's only as deep as them looking, finding a solution, and then telling someone to do it or hiring, paying for a software that's supposed to do it. But as far as QA checks and a deeper look, they're not looking for that. They just want the thing addressed and solved, and then they got a million other things to worry about with their business. They're just trying to make money, and I get that. I'm starting to realize it now. Um, how it is isn't necessarily uh, the best, but how it is how it is, and you have to accept that and learn from it and be able to maneuver around it if you want to be successful in the marketplace, which is confusing and hard sometimes, but you know that's the game we're playing. So you have to choose: are you going to play the game and succeed, or do you want to complain about how people perceive data, um, attribution, AI, dev, app development, custom solutions, etc.? No, I just want to provide a solution and make people happy, make them want to recommend the same process to their friends, and everybody wins. All right, that's all. Peace.